Welcome back. In this video, we are going to design every single item here. So the member, we're going to design something for it. So an XML file, and we will also pass in the information about the board to this activity via an intent so that we can also display something in the toolbar. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a new constant in my constants file here in utils. So the constant should be the one that we use in order to pass information over to the other activity. Okay, so to our member activity. And I'm just gonna call this one const val board underscore detail, which will be a string, and I'm gonna assign text of board detail to it. All right, so that's our board detail. Then the next step is to pass details through the intent, and that detail that we want to pass comes from the task list activity. Okay, so here when we are in on options item selected, we click on this action members, right? And here we start an activity, but I would also like to have some more details here. So let's now go ahead and create this intent separately. So here val intent will be this intent, and then I want to put some extra details to the intent. So that's always the same approach, right? Intent, put extra, and then at the position of constants dot board detail is where I want to pass in the m board details. So our m board details board, and this of course only works because our board details is of type board and our board is a parcelable. Okay, so we're passing a whole object because it's made to a string, so to speak. So it's transferred to a string so that we can put that as extra information there. Okay, so in the task list activity, we now have this intent. We put it as extra information, and then we can start this intent. All right, and in our members activity, now we can catch it. All right, so we of course need to get the value somewhere and store it somewhere. So I'm just gonna create a late init again, as we've done. So late init var, and this one will also be called onboard details, which will also be a board object. All right, so we need to import board, of course, because this class doesn't know about board. And then we can initialize it, and we can initialize it in our onCreate, and only if the intent has some extra information. So if the intent has extra for constants dot board detail. So that's the constant that we just created, right? Which is just boards underscore details. So if at that position there are some extra information, then use those information to store them in mboard details. So this is basically just passing information from one screen to another, but this time we're not just getting a string or something like that, but we're getting parcelable extra. You can see here, intent get parcelable extra, and then we of course need to say what we want to have, and that's constants dot board detail. Now you can add something like this here, where you say of which type it will be specifically. Okay, so the parsable extra information will be of type board, and then it will put that into the mboard details. Now we can go ahead and set up the toolbar, and I will do it the same way as I have done in multiple other activities. And I think it makes sense to go to the main activity to get it from there, because we've done it so many times, right? And let's just reuse it if we can. So set up action bar. Actually, I don't like this one. I prefer the one from my profile activity. So in my profile activity, we set up this action bar, right? And I want to use the same here in my members activity, only with some adjustments, of course. So here, set up action bar should be for toolbar underscore, and it's in the members activity, or it's called toolbar members activity. So it's this toolbar here that we created in this XML file earlier on, right? So it's this ID. We just copied it actually. We didn't really create it, but yeah, we created it at one point. And then with the action bar, we check if it's null, if it's not. And then as the drawable, I use the back button. And here we could set a title, or we could leave it. Well, we could use members here, right? Which is this one. So if you want to set a title, that's how you can do it, of course. We will see if that looks good or not. Then, of course, we have to be careful that we don't use a toolbar from another activity, because this definitely will cause a crash. So if you ever do that, it will cause a crash and you will see that it's not going to work. All right, so you have to use the toolbar that is available, of course, in this members activity, which is the one inside of this layout called activity members. All right, then at this point, we can now go ahead and set the navigation on click listener, which will just do a back press. And of course, we may not forget to also add that here in the on create. So set up action bar. We need to call this function at one point, of course. Now, the next thing would be to design the member items, right? So let's just do that. Let's go ahead and create a new layout. And here, new layout file. And I'm going to call this one item_member. So this one is going to take care of every single member, or every individual member. And the code here is going to be a linear layout. So you can just download the code once again. And I will walk you through it real quick. Of course, we will need some new dimensions, so you can also download the dimensions file. I just think that at this point, the project is already long enough that I don't want to bore you with entering everything here. So you can see we have a bunch of dimensions. Just download the updated dimensions file for this project. You can find it assigned to this video. And then let's look at the item member. So it's basically what you can see here. So we have this icon here, or this image, then the member name and the email address. All right, so it's a linear layout, vertically oriented, with another linear layout, horizontally oriented, in which we have the circular image view, and then we have the linear layout inside of it, which is vertical again, where we have the two text views on top of each other. And then we have a little separator, which is this view here, or it's a divider, so to speak. Okay, so then it will look like what you see here, where we have the member name, the email address, and then a little divider here at the bottom, so that we can see where one starts and the other ends, or the other way around. All right, so that is it for this video. In the next video, we are going to add the code that allows us to, of course, display the data in the members activity. Okay, so see you there.